This is a Glitterball podcast. Before we get into today's episode, please remember I'm judging these housemates based solely off of an edit and not as total people. Please don't send them any hate, it's just a game show. It's the aftermath of a double eviction and it's raining eyeballs as the Ideal Mini Mart has its closing down sale. And there's tears as we see letters from home. Welcome to He's Always Watching. From Glitterball, this is He's Always Watching, a Big Brother podcast. Hello, Fishbowl friends, and welcome to the final week of Big Brother UK 2025. I cannot believe that we are here. And we have a lot to talk about because it is tears before bedtime as our housemates get their letters from home in the Ideal Mini Mart's closing down sale. And Big Brother's up to his old tricks again with a good and bad idea task. So we have a lot to get into. Oh, and our lovebirds have apparently said the I love yous. So don't worry, we'll unpack that as well. Let's start with the aftermath of this double eviction, shall we? Because I think the house doesn't really seem to miss Nancy or Caroline that much. I feel like they've calmed down. There is a level of serenity, perhaps, going into this last week that they haven't had with Caroline's presence in the building. Now, she would probably call that boring, but I think it's actually a pleasant change to watch them get along for the last week. We really don't need what happened in last year's final with everybody arguing on the final night. So, I'm kind of glad to see this wave of serenity overtake the house. However, it doesn't last long because Big Brother is up to his old tricks, which we'll get into shortly. But generally speaking, I would say the house is calmer overall, and it doesn't really feel like we have a Caroline or Nancy hole left in the house, in my opinion. I feel like they've just patched up the gap and moved on, which I think is probably the first time we've seen that this season. So I don't know whether that speaks to the house being ready for those two to leave, or if they've just sort of pulled up their bootstraps and gone, we have one last week, it'll be fine. So it could be that as well. Before we get into the break, we're going to talk about our resident lovebirds, because you all know how I feel about showmancers, but I am very glad to see that these two have slowed down. Yes, it's only been 6-7 weeks, and I still think it's too short, but I guess there is the phrase of when you know, and apparently they think they know. But the thing I appreciate about these two is they took their pedal off the gas and calmed it down. Once Farida came in and quite rightly said for them to calm down, slow down and shut up. And I think that's helped them, because I dread to think where we would be now if she hadn't done that. Whereas I think now they have chilled out, and it's actually quite sweet. They have been very supportive of each other, and it's interesting to actually see that deep down, I think, while Marcus may have been a touch of a wallpaper housemate, I now see that he's just a genuinely soft, emotional man. And that's, I do not mean soft as an insult, I mean it as a compliment. It's actually quite endearing. I like Marcus more than I ever thought I would. He was very clearly nervous about Elsa's parents, and indeed his own parents' reaction to the relationship in the house, and that was quite endearing to see. But I overall just like that these two have calmed down, even though they have now dropped the L-bomb. So love is in the Big Brother air, if you will, and seem to be very much an item, even though we saw at the end of one of the episodes that Elsa was quite still jittery, which I think is understandable, because it's all well and good to fall head over heels for somebody inside an experiment like this, but it's going to take a lot of work for them to survive on the outside, especially if there's distance between them in terms of travel. It's going to take a lot of work, and it will be interesting to see whether that holds once they're both out of this bubble. For their sake, I hope it does. It's possible, so we shall see. And as much as I hate a showmance, I do wish them all the best, I guess. Showmances just kind of bore me, because there's only so far that can really evolve in such a space like this. So I just don't need to see it. But it is nice to see it kind of slowly bubbling away, rather than the full pedal to the metal, if you will, that we got in the first few weeks. Speaking of love, we need to talk about Emily. I don't think there is anything less flattering than basically saying you're desperate on international television, Emily, when it comes to finding a husband. I don't think there is anything less flattering than that. And it's just really uncomfortable to watch. First, she was trying to do some sort of flirtationship with Tate, and that's dead and gone. And now this. And I'm like, ooh, I don't know, no. And it's funny, because I feel like this is really all that and the letter is all we've really seen of Emily. So it's quite interesting that she is pretty much delivering not much at all in this house, given that she spoke such a big game, but upon her return, it's just been meh. So I do find that fascinating. After the break, we are going to get into the letters from home as the Ideal Mini Mart has its closing down sale, and some good and bad ideas. I'll see you in just a second. Welcome back. Let's get into some good or bad ideas. Now, this was another very fun task and another great idea for a solo day task. This was very, very good. I like how ridiculous the idea of these balls dropping was, and how wound up the housemates got about them. I did feel for Tasia with the "I knew it was you," because I feel like it's a little meddly when the producers go, "Oh, you can't talk about nominations. Cardinal rule of the show, you can't talk about nominations," and then they throw this at them. It's like, which one do you want it to be? Do you want them to talk about nominations, or do you want them to shut the hell up? Because I feel like this does the exact opposite of what they've been trying to get them to do all season, which was follow the rules and shut up. So maybe they just threw the towel in, but it's like, that's a little wishy-washy for my liking. But I did feel for Tasia when it was revealed that Emily nominated 3 times. And Tasia, I think, all things considered, took it well. But I was like, ooh, this is not great, is it? Tasia actually was a trooper, I would say, through the whole thing, from losing her eyeballs to the "I knew it was you." She was a very gracious, while disgruntled housemate, I would argue. And I did find that quite entertaining, actually. I did. I just felt for her at the same time. The other person who I really enjoyed in this task was Cameron catching all those balls. That was absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I thought that was just brilliant. And he did a great job with that giant, stupid net. I was like, well done, Cameron, well done. The space hopper race was also stupid and brilliant. I feel like all that teamwork was a great way to close out the mini mart for the season, And I really do hope they bring back the mini mart, because it has been such a staple this series of great moments, from the Tate and Marcus backwards and forwards to the reclaimed items of it all with Mousy and was it Roberto? Zila's anxiety stuffed animal. And I don't think this season would have been the same without it. It has ended up being quite a centerpiece of this season, and it's been all the better for it, because once they finally figured out how they wanted to do this, which I think was half the problem to begin with, it actually ended up working really well. So if they take this and maybe build on it next season, I would not be mad at all, because I think it's a great addition that doesn't meddle with the basics too much, but also gives us something as a viewer to go, oh, it's the middle of the week, they're off to the Ideal Mini Mart. And that space also looked great all season long, by the way. So I do hope they bring that back, because I actually really enjoy it. And I believe we're seeing it about to be copied in Australia with the Bargain Basement. And I wonder whether the Bargain Basement might stick around. I normally am not one for like big format shifts with this show, but I genuinely think this was a good addition. So I hope that it stays around for at least one more season. Let them build on what they've done this time with that framework in place, because there is so many other different ways you could take this that could be fun and entertaining, but also don't seriously meddle with the core mechanics of this show. Because if there's one thing that I will not ever sit nor stand for, that's a in a wheelchair joke in case you missed it, is meddling with the core mechanics of this format. I'm always going to call it out, and they ran the fine line between meddling and entertaining a few times with the mini-mart, but overall I think it's been a welcome addition to this format. Will they bring it back for Celebrity Big Brother? Imagine if they put the celebrities through the Ideal Mini Mart. Incredible. Actually, I think they should do that. Speaking of letters from home, let's get into it, because I did not expect to be quite so emotional from these letters, but maybe I'm just emotional that the series is coming to a close, but I am really going to miss this bunch. Particularly, Richard's letter brought me to tears. I was not expecting to cry at all during this segment, but I did. It got me. It was really, really lovely to see Richard have that moment. And indeed, the whole house have that moment with Richard. I was like, that is just so sweet and so heartwarming. And it's quite the juxtaposition to how we've spent the majority of this season. And I was just really pleased for him that he got that. I also thought Jenny's letter was touching, even though she has made so much about wanting more contact from home. Like, girl, give it a rest. I agree with somebody I saw on Twitter who said single-handedly that behavior may have lost her the show, and I am inclined to agree, but thank God I can't vote in that case. So we shall see in a matter of days whether I'm right or whether I'm wrong. And I just really enjoyed seeing the house have that moment with Richard and sort of embrace him. Tate's letter, I'm confused by, because Emily was insistent that it was ChatGPT, even though Big Brother is saying they wouldn't do such a thing. I'm like, would you? Would you? So I don't know, that is a little strange. But all in all, a strong few days in this house. And it's not over yet, because I was correct. We are getting a double backdoor eviction before finale. So when I see you next, we will be talking about the two housemates that have been given the unceremonious backdoor heave-ho right before the final hurdle. Oh my goodness, we are so very, very close to crowning a winner. I would really love to know your thoughts on who you think might win, so please come over and vote on the polls on Spotify and on Instagram, and you can leave a comment on the YouTube video so I know who you're backing as we head towards the final, because I would love to know. Also, while you're at it, please leave a 5-star rating for the podcast and whatever podcasting app you're listening to. And I will see you again very soon as we talk about those that have fallen at the final hurdle and the final hurdle itself as we barrel towards the grand finale of Big Brother UK 2025. In the meantime, remember, Big Brother's not the only one who's always watching. See you soon.